It's 7:08 and we have full quorum, I believe.
Commissioner Dillard,
Here.
Commissioner Gathua,
Commissioner Gathua?
Yes.
Yes.
Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Merritt,
Here.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Commissioner Mohammed, she called you. I don't think they can hear you without the mic.
Commissioner Mohammed.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, here.
Uh,
Thank you.
Commissioner Simmons
Here.
and Commissioner Rossi.
Here.
Stephanie, did you hear me?
Yes, we heard you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our Vice Chair to read the Native American land acknowledgement, please.
We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk, and because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossess indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work toward equity, restoration, and reparations.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. Next, we will skip public comment. There's no one in the room right now, and jump right into approval of the meeting minutes from June 20th, 2024. Is there a motion for approval? I move to approve. Is there a second?
Seconded.
I think Cliff and Amos both seconded it.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from June 20th, and I will get those updated to reflect that Commissioner Simmons was not present at that meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Oh, what's going on here? Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. We will move to the next agenda item, which is next steps for phase 3 and 4. And first, I'll open it up for discussion. Is there anyone online from our attendees list that would like to speak before we dive into discussion? Okay, so we'll move on to next steps for phase 3 and 4. We talked earlier this week that we would combine the budget discussion, and we have our city manager, Jeff Fruin, joining us for that discussion. If everyone's okay with that, we can dive into that, unless there's other things you'd like to discuss on steps for next phases for 3 and 4. I feel as we go through the budget discussion, there'll be some other things that'll come up for discussion. Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So Jeff and a group of us spoke last Friday about some possibilities for how we can move forward and getting some clarification on what we can do as far as a budget. If you all remember, there was some just concerns on what we're allowed to do without going to City Council, and what would definitely require some guidance from City Council. If you look in front of you, he suggested that we use a similar budget from our phase 1 and 2 approach with our facilitators, which are printed out, so we can discuss using that. And I believe our Commissioner Quiche put together another suggested budget, which is another printout here. So, Jeff, did you have anything you wanted to add immediately, or would you? Okay. Stephanie, would you be able to bring up the budgets on the screen?
I only have Amos's right now. I didn't print out.
Okay, well, if you could bring that one up, it's harder to read on the paper. So briefly, we all decided last fall that our categories would be special meeting accommodations, community marketing, special event promotion, miscellaneous pilot programs, splitting that evenly up about 2,500. That's a simple suggestion of what we could ask for from the city manager. But Amos, I'm going to let you take it away since you put together this alternative option for us to just explain what you're thinking about that.
Thank you. So the idea behind this budget is that we were looking for an alternative approach that could help us really integrate very well to the communities, different ones, as that was discussed in the minutes that we had previously. So the budget is based on looking at different groups we have in our community and trying to reach them. And that is on the, if you look at the column, the second column, let's see, you can see. The third column, going all the way down, we have different groups. We have the African Americans grouping, immigrants and refugees, Hispanic community, and that's South and Central America. Then we have the indigenous group, the natives, the Pacific Islanders too. So the approach is that we wanted to reach everyone as if possible, and we'll try that. And at the top row, we just have expenditure areas, and this is in line with what we did last time. And these are the areas we spent on, so we didn't add anything new. We spent on rentals, food, printing and supplies, videography.
I think you need to speak into the microphone. We can't hear you.
Yes, and videography. So those are the major, so that's what it's based on. So what we did was just to allocate some money into different areas there, and they're standard. Each group is probably allocated same amount for food and rentals. No, for food and I think rentals, yeah. Rentals tend to differ because some of the meetings are going to be in the churches, and we hope that they're not going to require some money to be paid on that. Yeah. And another important thing behind the budget is that we have a limit, and this is based on the guidance from the city manager, that this is in line with the complexity that we reached last time when we tried to put a big budget on other items that we are not very clear about. And this one probably will run faster and is probably something that can be accepted without going to the floor for approval by the council. And we believe that one was going to take a little more, much more. So this was a quick one. And so the allocations are there as you see them. I don't want to go over every little dollar there unless somebody has a question. But I was just guided by the limit. And I know a serious, important thing that probably questions will arise on the question of facilitator. And after putting in those numbers, we are only having about $5,900, something like that, yeah, for a facilitator. And so that's something that I want us to look into, really, whether that's going to help, and also the write-up of the report, too. Yeah, those are the areas that are really taking much of our money and will be really, really needed.
So if I may, I thank you for putting together an idea for us to look at. One of the things I first noticed is the last meeting we discussed that trying to reach out to all different ethnic groups, BIPOC groups, was going to be impossible for us. So we collectively agreed to focus where this group started, which is the Black community, specifically splitting it up between African American and African communities, with a hope that we can model what this could look like for other communities, since we're not the experts in those communities. I believe that's what we discussed last time. If anyone feels differently, please correct me. And then I'll let Jeff talk on this. I do believe he said that anything that would be requesting staff that isn't like a videographer is going to have to go in front of city council. So any of those, unless it was someone that we could do a small contract, or maybe you could clarify that.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know that it has to go in front of City Council, but I think what I would suggest is that you look at something similar to what you had with the first facilitators. This is obviously a much smaller scale than the first facilitator group, but if you had if you could identify an independent contractor, essentially somebody that could work with you on this project base for a defined fee, then we can certainly work with you there. Part of the decision making when it comes to City Council is going to be that dollar a limit. So here, with this proposed budget right here, and I understand you're still talking through that, a $5,900 expense certainly would not need to go to City Council. On the other kind of end of the spectrum, obviously you could imagine like the first round of facilitators that were a few $100,000, that certainly has to go to City Council. So I'm very comfortable with this estimate. I'm not sure how feasible it is and who could do that work, but we can certainly try to help you explore ideas on who might be able to do that.
I'm really looking forward to hearing what other commissioners think so far about this discussion.
So far, what I've seen, I like it. I think it looks good. I think it's well done, well written out, and this is a decent plan to start off with.
So I have a question, since we're talking about where the previous meeting, we decided to focus more on, so are we thinking of just this one section? Or, because I like the format, I like the amounts that were put in for these, I think are realistic and doable. So are we going to want to try to do this format, or are you thinking of going back to this kind of format?
I think we can collectively agree to do whatever, so whatever we want to do. So again, I appreciate like the breakdown that Commissioner Quiche gave us. I love it as more of a guideline, and I would rather take that and have it more loose, like the one that was proposed to us by City Manager. But I know that it is whatever we want it to be.
Commissioner Mohammed's hand is up.
Mohammed? Oh,
Is raised, yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't see it right now. Just one second. Commissioner Mohammed, go ahead. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, about the budget and this stuff, like we still have to talk to the council and how long it takes that.
We do not need to.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question. I think the timeline is, we're already into July, so the timeline would need to change to be more realistic as we are fastly approaching our December end date.
Might I offer a suggestion? I wouldn't get too hung up on the format. You could actually do both. You could have a summary budget that looks like the one you approved in August. That does give you that a little bit more flexibility. And then, maybe there's a more detailed one behind it for your own planning purposes, so that when you're going through individual meetings, you kind of have a rough guideline. But from the city budget standpoint, we're going to be more interested in that bottom line number. If some money has to float between food and rentals and special events and promotion, we're not overly concerned about that. So I would suggest something like this that we would formally adopt, and then this would be more of a planning document for you that can can change as you work your way through that.
I
I'm
like
sorry,
that
for
idea.
those that were on the video, I was holding up documents, I apologize. I was referring to the summary as the budget that the TRC, a similar budget to what the TRC approved on August 17th, which is more of a Microsoft Word format. And then the planning document I referred to was the Excel, what looks to be like an Excel document that Commissioner Quiche has proposed.
And I
Thank you.
put the one that Jeff mentioned, it's on the screen now.
Thank you.
Looks good to me. I like it.
So, I mean, so Commissioner Quiche proposed that it be 20,000, so would it be fair to just double every category to get to that 20,000? And then, as you're saying, Jeff, is that we can, if we need to move things around, we can, but this can be just a general budget.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. The only thing I might suggest is that in the budget that you had approved in August of 2023, the last one is miscellaneous pilot programs. If you like that language, that's great, but I might add and facilitator report writing, something that signals that that's going to be a budget priority.
Yes.
And you might, if you think that's going to be a little bit more expensive, you might just weight that 20,000 down a little bit. Again, not super important, but it signals intent.
Yes. Just writing this out. So if we, in your budget, Commissioner Quiche, you put about 6,000 for facilitation, 7,000 facilitation and shared services. About how much you thought it would cost to continue that? That's what I see on there.
For facilitator?
For facilitation / report writing?
I believe it takes a little bit more. When I was doing this, I was constrained by the 20,000. And that was really tying my hand and trying to be fair to the different groups. And because that question is going to arise from the public that where is the money going, where are the events and the activities going. So to me, the budget reflects that vision that we are making an effort to go to each community. And so that, but we can make adjustments. We don't know, it's probably, it might not cost that much in some areas, in some communities, probably just going to be one event if possible. And but I don't have a problem with that. If there's a possibility in which we can reduce some of those other things, like on food and which I think is very minimal. It just goes around 300, which really is almost 70% of what our average used to be around 500, 600. So we are really thinning ourselves here. Probably just talking of water and a few drinks and a few snacks. Yeah.
Well, some of these areas that we could cut out would be rentals. I mean, we should try to find places that will give us in-kind or their space for free, so that would give us more budgetary room, which could go towards food and stuff, like you're saying. I don't think we need to spend as much on where we're going to be, because we also said that we wanted to go where people are, in that we said community centers, churches, things like that, outdoor spaces. So
Did we have to pay any kind of rental for any place we've
Yes.
gone to? Where?
all of the spaces we use, we paid a rental fee.
Mohammed
Commissioner Hamid,
hand is up.
I just saw it. Thank you, Commissioner Gathwa. Commissioner Mohammed, go ahead.
Yeah, about the, usually Coroville Public Library, they can reserve, they have rooms downstairs and it's free. But we can tell them ahead, like we need this room. If we need that room, like to just call them and say we need that room in that day and it's no cost.
Yes.
And just to clarify, there wasn't cost when you do it at like the senior center or any city
Oh.
facility. It was the outside spaces that charged.
That's what I was meaning
Yeah.
in my head. Thanks for that clarification. So that's a way we can take out cost.
Chair Dillard,
Yes,
I'd like to make a recommendation.
absolutely.
I don't think that really going through the budget right now, there's something that you could work with a subcommittee on. But what I think I heard the city manager say, that if we have the buckets that we need to have, and you have the vote on that, then you in essence have that completed.
Right.
You can work later through the specific situations once you've made more of a commitment to where you want to go and then what that cost would be, so it could be more real time. So that would be my recommendation is that you could go ahead and make the motion or request a motion in essence that that the budget be, give the different numbers that you want for those different categories. Add the part about the writer that we would need, and then you can then move forward from there. Going through this is really the type of minutia that's important, but it's something that you could do on the side.
I agree with that.
I appreciate that. And I just wanted to try to figure out how much we think a writer would be, because that's the part that needs to be adjusted. So if I were to propose that that's the only part that we move to about 7,500 for writer, and the writer facilitator that shared services, does that sound about right?
That could be right, but
And I'm
I
talking
think
about that one.
Right. I think the concept is that directionally it says this is more important.
Right.
Directionally. So you can always take money from those other places and move it to it, right? So if the number is should you need to have 10,000, it's better than the 7,500 and you moving money to it versus you set it for, let's say, 2,000 and find out that it's 7,000. So I think the 7,500 would work.
Right.
And then whatever money that you believe that needs to have a shift, you can ultimately make that change.
Yes. So if everyone's in agreement with that, then I agree with you. We can distribute the remaining dollars from that extra 3,000, I guess, to the other categories, unless you had something
No,
else.
so are we still thinking that the total being 20?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we suggested. I think that was the highest number that you felt comfortable with. Okay. So is everyone in agreement with that? So we would start, the last line, the miscellaneous pilot programs would be changed to budget, well, it would be changed to report writing, facilitation, and shared services.
And you would rewrite it, correct?
We would rewrite this, yes. Just speaking out loud, I would love for us to be able to vote on it today so we could move forward on it. But it would be written out so that everyone would be able to see it after the fact. And that would be 7,500, if everyone's comfortable with that. If anyone thinks it needs to be higher, please speak now. Otherwise, we're going to keep at the 7,500 and then take that 3,500, no, 2,500, right? And redistribute that into the other three categories equally. Does that sound fair?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's easy.
Or am I missing some dollars?
No,
Yeah, I'm
'cause
missing, yeah.
You first said we were going to just double it, so
Yes.
so each category was going to be 5,000.
Yes.
But since we said you
We'd-
want
yes.
this one to be, so if this one's going to be 7,500, then, the leftover is,
You're right, because I'm thinking too fast
12.
right now.
So my suggestion would be if you just double the numbers for a special meeting, you double the number for for a special event promotion. You keep the number the same for community marketing, and you have $7,500 for the miscellaneous and event writer, then
Okay.
you would have your 20,000.
yes.
Thank you. My brain is not working right now, so I appreciate that. So that is what the suggestion is right now. Any other thoughts on that? Anyone need any explanations or have any more discussion on that?
I thought we were also using students possibly.
I did want to
cheapen that up.
I did want to talk about that. And maybe, Jeff, I'm not sure if you're able to talk more about how we can use staff or staff to help us find interns to help complete this project.
So if we have positions, whether it's an intern or full-time employee, we have processes that we have to go through as a public body. We have to post those. Those are competitive. We interview, we select. If you're more interested, if what you're thinking is, hey, we may know of a department or a student organization that could be interested in this and you want to work directly with them, then I think we could probably frame that as like an independent contracting type of situation. So if you can tell me a little bit more about your thoughts there, if you have something specific in mind, we'll try to find the path forward to that. I'm just reluctant a little bit to do the open call, like we're going to have an open position and do interviews and applications. Government can move slow, and the hiring process is pretty slow.
So there would be two people that I would recommend. One person is Tevin Robbins. He does an event that's called, well, I always call it the wrong thing, but it's Business in the Black. But it's whatever the event is. But
Cedar Rapids?
From a,
Is he in Cedar Rapids?
no, he works at the University of Iowa.
Okay,
And he works in the College of Business.
okay,
And so he would be one person that I would, in essence, target. He would have access to students. This could be a project that some of them or one of the professors could work with them on. This could be of interest. And then the other person would be Dr. Venice Berry, who's responsible, who works with the journalism. And then there may be someone, in essence, as a team, that they can, in essence, help us put some things together from that perspective. So I would say that those would be the two groups that we could have assist us in doing something, and then we can then work with them and assist them in maybe a program or something of that nature that's a benefit to them.
Were you thinking that that was going to impact our budget?
Yeah, I thought that was a way of us saving a little bit of money.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking we're still going to have the 20,000, and if we have the students, then that we can just shift money elsewhere. That's going to be more. So the 20,000 is still going to be the same.
Oh, yeah,
The breakout that we have is still the same, and then.
I assume we would just move it around and move it to somewhere we might need it a little bit more, that's all. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, we can do that when later down
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Just frees us up a little bit, that's all.
so one of the things I was hoping is maybe identifying where there are current staff that could help us with some things. Like I think I've mentioned is that our facilitators did help with a lot of the event planning and logistics and stuff more so than we did. If we're able to do that. And the reason why I did bring up interns, and I didn't know if you had to have an RFP selection for that, if that was, maybe it's more if we find volunteers that could work with your staff to kind of help us facilitate some things, that would be beneficial is what I'm saying. Because we have, at a couple of our events, identified people that want to get involved. It just, managing volunteers is a beast in itself sometimes.
Sure, we'll do our best to help. The one thing I would say is, as best as we can plan ahead and schedule, we have to manage those staff schedules as well. So if we're not moving on a day-to-day basis, if we're planning out a few weeks ahead, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to accommodate, whether that's through Stephanie's office, my office, or communications. We'll do our best to assist.
Okay.
And Chair, I really think it would be valuable to get an event planner.
Event planner?
Yes.
And you were thinking we should be able to get an event planner out of that budget of $7,500, or we need additional money for that?
Well, I think the money that we're ultimately going to work with is the 20,000, right?
yes.
And that number is not going to change.
Right.
I think once you start getting to the details, what our chair, I'm not chair, Commissioner Wood Amos has provided us, once you get into the details, you figure out how to break down the money. And then we'll figure out, again, where we're weak and where we're strong at, right?
Right.
So I think that within 20,000 that you should get an event planner, just like within the 20,000 you should get someone to help when it comes to the writing. But to better understand the impact that it's going to have on the budget, you have to really just talk to some people and then plan some things out. But they're going to they will make sure that whatever is supposed to happen happens based on our schedule versus us really just taking people when they may be available.
Right. Any other thoughts?
No, I just said I have a question on I saw an advert on an additional staff for the city on community outreach and engagement. I wonder how soon that person can come, and if that capacity can be shared.
So I just sent out a note to the people who will serve on the interview panel with me, and so I'm still waiting to hear from them, but we're at least looking at the second week in August at the earliest to even start interviews. So,
Okay.
you know.
The new position that they're in their office. Awesome, thank you. Other thoughts, questions? I can't see everyone online. If anyone's raising their hands, feel free to speak.
We have a stock of our merchandise and all that, right, already?
I think we probably need a restock.
Is
We
there-
don't have any shirts anymore.
No more shirts, okay.
Yeah, so, but that's something that Stephanie and I
Yeah.
can work on. Stephanie did a great job putting some stuff together for us, so
Oh,
thank you.
I think the shirts are a big hit.
We'll get some more. The shirts are a big hit, and I think it's important to have some of those things as well. If anyone wants to meet out offline, as was suggested in the subcommittee, to discuss how we can move forward with certain things. I know if you look at the budget on the left-hand side, there was suggested on who would lead certain spots. Another reason why we said we would condense it is so that we wouldn't have everyone spread thin. It would be a lot easier to have two main focuses versus 6. So, and then we can really put together a schedule. Today, the next meeting is the 1st of August. It would be great to have a schedule of what we're really planning to do for the remaining of August, September, October, as far as, getting out into the community after we've talked in our subcommittees. And then as far as, I guess I'm going to ask Commissioner Simmons, do you have strong contacts with the people you suggested? Would you be able to reach out to them, or do you have?
Sure, I can reach out to them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other people that we all know that anyone would like to throw out and make a suggestion of that could help us with this? Commissioner Gathua, go ahead, and then Commissioner Mohammed afterwards.
Commissioner Chastity, before we get to the details of who's doing what, I wonder whether, because Commissioner Simmons and yourself, you've mentioned schedule, can we sort of get an outline of the activities we are doing? And if possible, kind of start backwards with when do we do our final report, especially knowing that December we are usually able to just do the first meeting. That one, the second one is kind of just taken up by the holidays. So maybe this is just me feeling that now that we are kind of agreed on the budget, now going to a timeline of activities. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I will answer your question. Commissioner Mohammed, did you want to ask
Yeah, I want to talk about here on the left side. Is that like we talk together or?
the left side, the tentative lead commissioners?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is a suggestion that was created by Commissioner Kiche.
Yeah, sorry.
And so
that was
go ahead.
just something to make us think about it, that we are somehow get committed to. It can be rearranged. You don't have to work with the person there. These are based on just my thought, but I had to put on something. It's part of the budget. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll stick with that for me. So I have no problem with that.
So after this meeting, I can work with Commissioner Kiche. We can clean up a little bit from the suggestions and send it out to everyone so people can voice their opinion on what they are willing to do or would rather do or okay with doing, so we can move forward. And Commissioner Mohammed, do you still have a question? I see your hand is still up.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Okay. But to get back to Commissioner Gathawa's question about talking about our plans, working backwards, what we've talked about in the last couple meetings is to focus on the report. Commissioner Tassinari has agreed to take the lead of making sure that the report gets done with whoever we're able to help us with that, and volunteers and things like that. I believe we've talked for a few months, especially with Commissioner Simmons, that we definitely don't want to be doing activities in December or late November, because that is holiday time and not when most people are available. So I believe our plan is to somehow get a report ready or prepared by October, early November of some sort, to be presented or looked through to City Council latest their December meeting. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone understands differently or wants something differently. So working backwards from that, right now we're really focused on like the community engagement part of everything, so really getting out to the community. So we have until October, November to really just be out in the community, gathering information, showcasing what this could be, so we can move on to our recommendations, one being that this commission should live on, and really getting the input from the community of what that could look like, which will hopefully go into that report. We'll definitely go into that report. We're going to be working on a report simultaneously while we're doing these community events, since time is ticking, as it has been for months now. That's how I understand it. Commissioner Gathawa, I'm not sure if that answers your question or if you have any other things you want to ask or add to that.
So we're in a position to do a calendar of activities, October tentative dates, October this date, we do the final presentation, then September, probably the last group on that outline that Commissioner Kiche drew out, and then I guess maybe next month, maybe engage with the African Americans, and then after that, sort of a tentative calendar of events.
I would say September through end of October is community events, simultaneously working on the report the same months through November. Maybe even some community events happening in November. We're hoping to, divide and conquer. So there might be multiple things happening that everyone doesn't go to, for instance, we were talking about just going to a church and just talking, or there's several events that are happening in August and September throughout the community. Maybe it's going to tabling at those events and talking to people, making conversations and getting invited to other groups to talk to, really trying to work the grassroots organic side of things is how I'm picturing it, using our contacts and the people of our contacts to really just get out into the community.
So we're able to put that timeline down on what is happening when.
Yeah, we can
kind of to have a visual to work with, like the ones we've been working with today. So we'll have a visual of that so that we can check off done or what's happening when.
I see we can put a timeline, but I also think it needs to be flexible because we also don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, totally agree. Not written in stone, but at least just have something in. For example, what Commissioner Kiche did, he made it very easy to have something we are looking at as we talk. So just have that have the timeline written down and tentative dates of what is going on when. Yeah, it's very clear as we talk, as you talk. We'll do this, we'll do this. But also, other than just having it in our minutes, but also just have some sort of document. Yeah, just like we've done before. We've now we have phase, but now breaking down that phase to a calendar of events, tentative dates, something that's not written on stone, but changes is flexible as we move.
Yes. Any other thoughts from anyone?
So we just have to vote on the budget and, okay.
I think we need to vote on the changes that were made verbally and agree to that we're going to use that as a framework so that we can move forward with a more detailed budget that's following that framework. Anyone want to make that motion? I don't know how that should be phrased.
Is that?
I think the motion could just generally ask for approval of the budget of $20,000 to be divided as the discussion articulated between the four categories, with the edits to the fourth category as I suggested. Stephanie and I have the minutes and the recording. We'll get it all cleaned up, and we'll present you with a clean copy at your next meetings in case you think we missed something. But the $20,000 numbers is really what the motion needs to have.
Okay.
Making a motion to approve the $20,000?
It has to be, I think it needs to be a little bit longer than that.
Consistent with the discussions that the commission had.
Yes.
And I can read if you want me to read what was said, if you want it to be that specific.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. So the motion would be to revise the miscellaneous pilot program to report writing, facilitation, and shared services. And you would redistribute the funding for special events, special meetings. Instead of 2,500, it would be 5,000. Community marketing would increase from 2,500 to 5,000. And special event promotion, you would keep at 2,500, which should get you at the 20,000.
And I think that was flipped. I think the community marketing.
It's the community? Okay, thank you.
Okay. So your motion is to,
Yeah, my motion is to approve the redistribution of the money that we,
with the 20,000?
yeah, the $20,000 that we just discussed.
And is that sufficient? All right.
Yeah.
I second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the budget for Phase 3 and 4 for the Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission, $20,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, so motion carries 7, Simmons abstaining. So 7-0 with Simmons abstaining.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any further discussions that we need to have for next steps for Phase 3 and 4? Okay, if not, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item. And if there's anyone online that would like to speak on what we have just talked about, please go ahead and raise your hand. If not, we're moving into commissioner announcements. Well, I have one announcement. National Night Out is happening on August 2nd. The second Tuesday of August at Weatherby Park. I'm speaking about this because it's a great event, but it's also an opportunity for us to table at, and I will reach out to see who would like to join me in that. And also bring your kids or your family. It's going to be a good time. August 6th, 5:30 to 8, Weatherby Park. Anyone else have a commissioner announcement?
I'll go. I just ask my fellow commissioners and others who are part of this meeting to spare a thought for Kenya, since we do have some people in our city and county who are part of whose homes of origin are Kenya. Spare a thought. Right now, there have been protests for a month led by Gen Zs who are peacefully protesting for good governance and end of corruption in summary. And the country has been joined by other people internationally. And a lot of lives have been lost. If you ask me and others, it could be 1,000, although officially by the government, the numbers are being reported as very few, but no life should be lost when protesting peacefully. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any announcements from staff? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.